Guardians, buckle up. Destiny 2 Renegades drops December 2nd, and Bungie is basically saying, what if Destiny went full space outlaw, Star Wars inspired chaos without the Disney lawsuit? We've got Syndicate driven campaign, a brand new weapon type, new exotics, armor sets, a new dungeon, trials weapons, a whole new activity called Lawless Frontier, plus systems changes, Sandbox changes, and Bungie outright deleting some of the worst ideas from Edge of Fate. So in this video, we're breaking down everything new coming with Renegades, and I mean everything. Let's get into it. If you're a Destiny fan, this is the breakdown you need before Renegades launches. Renegades is Destiny 2's next major expansion, launching December 2nd, and tonally, this is Bungie going all in on that scoundrel fantasy. Not a crossover, not a parody, Bungie literally worked with Lucasfilm to nail the vibe. So instead of fighting gods and eldritch horrors, we're fighting syndicates, as the Drifter's new problem solver. Let's talk about the factions you're about to get very familiar with, because Renegades revolves around 3 criminal syndicates, each with their own flavour. The Pikers, Elixni Biker Gang Energy, Tharsis Reformation, Rogue Vex who want individuality, and the Totality Division, Scion-led Cabal intelligence operatives gone full Shadow Ops. These guys don't like each other, they don't trust you, and the whole campaign is about navigating this underworld, doing jobs, building notoriety, and deciding who you actually want to work for. Or against. So the Lawless Frontier is the new core activity. This is where the real Renegades gameplay lives. The Lawless Frontier isn't a classic new planet, instead it's a full mission-based activity framework set across updated zones on Mars, Europa and Venus. When you queue into Lawless Frontier, you pick from job types like bounty hunts, tracking down high-value targets, smuggling runs, moving contraband through enemy zones, and sabotage ops, blow things up, hack things, ruin someone's day. Everything you do feeds your Syndicate notoriety, unlocking gear, upgrades, cosmetics, and new Renegade abilities, which takes us nicely into what those Renegade abilities are. Yep, you get abilities inside Lawless Frontier. Think of them like supercharged activity powers, some to mention being an Imperium Behemoth Walker, a Piker Mortar Turret that rains homing missiles, or a Falcon Jet Bite Form ability and drive-by blasting. You unlock and upgrade these through Notoriety. They're offensive, defensive, support, and honestly, if you've been keeping up to date with any of the creators that went out to Bungie for the playtest, they're looking like one of the most fun parts about Renegades. Each individual faction has different upgrades and abilities specific to them, so you'll have to decide which one you want to pledge your allegiance to first, as you won't be able to max them all out at the same time. And then Bungie said, what if Gambit invaders were optional and fun? Because certain Lawless Frontier missions allow invasion. You can opt in to let another fireteam invade your job, or you can invade theirs. If the invader gets kills, they get credits. If you wipe them, they get booted. Super high risk, super high reward, totally chaotic. And Bungie says this is a testbed for future Destiny modes. So moving on from there, one of the main key features of the Renegades expansion is going to be the new weapon type, which are heat weapons, or blasters as more commonly known. So let's talk guns, because Renegades is adding the first new weapon archetype in years, and I'm not talking about little adaptations like rocket sidearms or pulse rifles. Believe me when I say, guys, these are going to change the meta and what people are going to be using for some time to come within the game. So here's the deal on them. No magazine, no reload, they fire off heat. If you overheat them, they'll lock up until you vent. So gameplay is going to become a rhythm. Shoot, build heat, choose when to vent, don't overdo it or get punished. There are 2 different archetypes of blasters. These are dynamic, big damage with big heat spikes, and balanced, which are controlled, reliable, low heat precision. Heat weapons even deal bonus damage to powerful enemies, which means Bungie actually wants these in the endgame. On top of the blaster weapons themselves and a whole suite of new other legendary weapons we'll be getting in the game, Bungie are also adding in 3 big new exotic weapons. The most notable of these, and of course if you have been following anything to do with Renegades you'll already know about this, and this is the Praxic Blade aka Lightsaber, which is an exotic kinetic sword. This is a campaign reward, uses special ammo, reflects projectiles, throws a heavy ranged attack, and yes, you can customize the colour of your blade. It's not known exactly where we unlock all the different colours and customizations for the Praxic Blade yet, but it was hinted at that the Red Sith style one is going to be from something to do with invasions, which we just spoke about. But there's going to be a ton of customization for these, and these look extremely powerful. Meta defining probably isn't an overstatement for what these are going to be. We then have the Heirloom, which is a solar exotic crossbow, explosive, single target monster, fire, detonate and repeat, and from what's been said, this is looking to be the dungeon reward, which we'll get to in just a little bit further on in the video. But finally, we also have the Service of Lazaku, which is a strand exotic machine gun. It creates threadling nests, you can shoot the eggs, hatch an army, which is an absolute chaos engine. This is going to be super fun with strand builds and is going to be really powerful as well from the gameplay that we've seen. Plus, if you obviously bought the Ultimate Edition, you also get the new Lambion Sniper Rifle if you haven't already done so. On top of the exotic weapons, we also have a brand new exotic armor piece for all three classes. So for the Hunter, we have the Fortune's Favor, which is a leg armor. Of the three exotic armor pieces, this one probably looks the least flashy, but I think can be used well with certain builds when put together. So what the Fortune's Favor actually does is builds overshields by playing clean. Overshields buff damage, handling and accuracy, and when it breaks you get a speed boost. So there's a lot of neutral game kind of buffs that you get from this, and it's really not that difficult to proc as well. It sounds like it may be more of a PvP exotic, but I'm pretty sure we'll find something to do with it to have some fun in PvE as well. For the Titan, we have the Praxic Vestment, which is a chest piece. You get an arc jetpack dash ability, which surprisingly has a good amount of distance to it. You build fuel for the flight mechanic with melee and weapon final blows, and when you crash into enemies after the flight ends, you will also blind them. Again, doesn't sound like it's going to be like the endgame meta, but in general gameplay and some certain niche situations, there's definitely going to be use cases for this, and overall it just looks fun. We then have the Daimo Suffusion helmet for the Warlock, which I don't know if I'm butchering the name of that, but basically when you cast your Rift, you're going to suspend everything around you. It deals damage over time, heals you, and suspended enemies take more damage. So with a little bias being a Warlock main, this does look the most powerful out of the three and definitely more suited to endgame viability in my opinion, but as I said, there may be some crazy little interactions which we come across with the others which make me wrong, but for the time being, this is the one I definitely want to pick up first. So moving on from there, as I mentioned before, we do have a brand new dungeon coming with Renegades, which is called Equilibrium, and Equilibrium will launch on December the 13th, which is 1 week after the expansion launches. As normal, or as is becoming common practice, there'll be a 48-hour contest mode for those of you who want to test yourself in this harder difficulty, and those of you that are vying for World's First, where there is a brand new trophy. Looks kind of like an engram or something. I'll pop that up on screen for you if you haven't seen it. Looks pretty cool though, and this is going to be the prize for World's First. Don't forget guys, once the World's First race has completed or the verified winners have happened, normal mode will unlock then as well, so you don't have to wait for that 48 hours to be up to jump in if you just want to experience the new dungeon and its loot and don't care about the extra difficulty. As far as we know, the loot that will be available from the dungeon will be the Zealous Ideal Auto Rifle, the Bitter End Machine Gun, the High Tyrant Pulse Rifle, Voltaic Shade Scout, Conspiracy Honed Sniper and Sullen Claw Sword, as well as the Chewbacca Explosive Exotic Crossbow. So let me know down in the comments below, will you be taking on the Day 1 dungeon or will you be waiting until that normal mode becomes available? As I mentioned, there is a whole suite of weapons that we'll have available to us when Renegades launches. Across the entire expansion from the Lawless Frontier, the dungeon and the seasonal pool, there'll be a total of over 36 new legendary weapons. Some of these which we've already seen in the Bungie weapons trailer. We have the modified B7 pistol, which is a stasis hand cannon, the All or Nothing Strand Pulse, the M17 Fast Talker Stasis SMG, the Uncivil Discourse Arc Special Hand Cannon, and the refurbished A499 Kinetic Heavy Sniper. So on top of the weapons that we have coming, we also have a refresh coming to Trials of Osiris, starting off with the new armor set called New Demotic. This has set bonuses, so for a 2-piece Parolee means slide-in is more flinch resistance, and for the 4-piece Martingale Revives or Allied Deaths give huge ADS and handling buffs. We also have new weapons in the Corundum Hammer, which is a Strand 140 hand cannon, which is actually going to be available week 1 when Trials goes live, and then the second week we have the Martlet, which is a Void Lightweight Pulse, and that will be available for Trials on week 2. On top of that, we also have new cosmetics in the form of a Ghost, Sparrow, Ship and Shader, and they will be available from the Flawless chests. On top of the brand new stuff for Trials, we'll also have the return of the Immortal Strand SMG, the Astral Horizon Kinetic Aggressive Frame Shotgun, and the Cataphract GL3 Strand Adaptive Frame Grenade Launcher. Of course, all of these will now be within the tiered system, so you can grab those weapons at tier 5. Across the whole of the Renegades release, we'll also have 7 new armor sets, including trials and the various other activities, and these will also have set bonuses as well. So the Swordmaster set will have sword and glaive hits weaken enemies and blocking granting damage resistance when you release guard, Thriving Survivor, grenade and heat weapon synergy, and ammo generation on multi-kills. And the new Demotic set, as I just said, for trials will give sliding flinch reduction and revive based ADS and handling buffs. Moving on from there, we now have the order system and pretty much the death of bounties, or most of them anyway. Renegades is going to wipe out most old bounties and replace them instead with orders, which are automatically tracked, no returning to vendors to pick up new bounties, they come in common, legendary and exotic tiers, and they reward XP, bright dust and gear. They also don't make you change weapons or just generally play weird, which some bounties have had us do. So this is the best daily or weekly quality of life change that Destiny has had in terms of bounties for quite some time now. So this is going to have its own menu as part of the UI, where all this stuff is tracked, and Bungie did even say that it will try and sort of learn from the loadouts that you've got on, so you're not completely changing everything that you're doing just to satisfy the needs of the bounties that you've got, and you're not going to have to log into your phone or keep going backwards and forwards to get the bounties. So in my opinion, this is a win, as long as it shakes out as it's intended to, which is, you know, always the question when it comes to Bungie. Moving on from there, following from some feedback and other such ideas coming out of Bungie, we're going to have Vanguard Alerts, which are not going to start until week 2 of Renegades, but they will be releasing. Vanguard Alerts will be a curated weekly ritual loop. So there'll be a featured Vanguard Alerts playlist, a Grandmaster Vanguard Alert, which is harder than the standard GM Nightfalls, rotators including Crucible, Arena Ops, Desert Perpetual Raid, and Equilibrium Dungeon. So this is essentially becoming a what do I do this week menu, but more modernized. Of course, one of my own pieces of feedback, and I know that it's kind of echoed across PvE players across the game, is that removing traditional Grandmaster Nightfalls and the weekly sort of chase was a mistake. So this is their way of kind of reintroducing that from what they've said, but again, one of those things we're just going to have to see if it shakes out that way once it's in the game. So we then move on to Sandbox buffs and new gear bonus. The Sandbox is getting an absolutely massive rebalance. From memory, this is one of the biggest ones we've had in quite some time. So the new gear bonus will now apply to all exotics, which means 5% weapon damage for weapons and up to 10% damage resistance. There's going to be an absolute ton of subclass buffs, especially Stasis Revenant, Archetype Movement and Strand Warlocks. There's archetype tuning for pulse rifles being toned down, grenades and melees being buffed in PvE, and exotic armor reworks to keep old pieces competitive with the new hotness. So also as part of this, all exotic armor is now considered as current seasonal gear, so that means that you will no longer be sort of put in a box when it comes to what exotics you're using with build crafting. All of them now will count for these buffs, whereas obviously throughout the Edge of Fate we've only had a selection of these being available. I'm not going to go through all of these kind of things in this video, guys, as it is more of a top line kind of what's coming, but I will link all of the sort of blog posts and twids which reference the stuff that I've covered here in the comments down below for you guys to check out. There are some massive changes coming though to things such as the Titan's Void Shield, for example. That's getting an absolutely massive buff. Warlocks are eating amazingly. Matoya Doxia is definitely going to become meta. That is getting on par damage levels. When you use the Needlestorm super, it's supposed to be the same as a Fallen Star Thunder Crash, which is absolutely crazy. Winter's Guile's also getting a huge buff as well, so those Sliding Punch Warlock builds are also going to be incredibly strong. These two exotics I think are going to pick up the meta when it comes to Warlocks for at least a while when it comes to Renegades, until we dig a little bit deeper. I'll be completely honest, Hunters seem to have drawn the short straw in terms of powerful sort of buffs and things like that this time around. But Bungie have said they're working on bringing up some Hunter stuff up to par with this as well. But I guess for now, get wrecked Hunter nerds, I guess. So moving on from there, we do also have information on the new artifact, which is called the Encrypted Data Disk. This focuses on kinetic, void, arc, and swords. So obviously expect to see kinetic and sword builds as well as heat weapons dominating early on in Renegades. I feel like a lot of these are sort of tailored towards the Praxic Blade, aka lightsaber. So I think there's going to be some pretty nutty stuff going on with those. But for champions, we have anti-barrier hand cannon or sniper, overload pulse and SMG, unstoppable bow, Kinetic Synthesis and Kinetic Rupture, which are brilliant synergy mods as well. We have Riposte, Combination Argent Blade, and Sword Storm combo. So like I said, a lot of it is focused at swords and using the lightsaber, I think, but that's going to be a ton of fun, and I honestly think this is going to be one of the more busted weapons within the game. I will quickly throw up on screen the entirety of that so you can pause and have a look at it if you haven't seen it, but again, it will be linked down below with all the other links to the twids and things, so you can read that in full if you want to. We also have some more important quality of life changes coming as well, so there will be no power reset with Renegades, so if you are at or around 550, that is where you'll need to get to. We won't be being brought down in power to get back up again. Where you are now when this ends before Renegades launches, that is where you'll be when it starts, so you don't have all that massive power climb to think about. You can just enjoy new content and going after new gear. Unstable cores will also be removed as well, so Infusion is now going to consist of just using Glimmer and upgrade cores, so that is all you'll need. You won't have to worry about unstable cores. We're also getting plus 300 vault space, so for all these new blaster types with all the different perks and things like that, armor sets that you may want to be starting to gather if you're just getting up to the point where you're getting tier 5 armor, you'll have a lot more space for all that type of stuff. There'll also once again be a returning player buff, so I think it's going to be another chest where you can grab a full set of 300 gear, meaning that it cuts out some of that early grind. If you have players or friends that are returning to the game, then you'll probably want to point them in this direction. On top of this, and also talking about returning players, we have an open access week from December the 2nd to the 9th, which will give free access to large chunks of Destiny 2 content to try Renegade systems before buying. And that, Guardians, is everything coming in Destiny 2 Renegades. I know some of the information is a little bit more top line, but if you check out some of the links I'll have left in the pinned comment, you'll see that there is a ton of information, especially regarding subclass and exotic buffs and things like that. This video would have gone on an hour for me to cover it all in there. Feel free though to let me know down in the comments below what most you are looking forward to about Renegades, or if you are going to be playing or not. So just as a quick overview, guys, we've got Syndicates, Smuggling Runs, Blasters, Praxic Blade, Invasions, new exotics, new armor sets, a sweaty new dungeon, Trials Refresh, Order System, Vanguard Alerts, and the Sandbox shake-up the size of a Cabal Dreadnought to go through. If this breakdown did help you, drop a like, it really helps the video reach more Guardians, and comment below what are you most excited for in Renegades, Blasters, the dungeon, armor set bonuses, or something I didn't cover yet. Thanks for watching, stay dangerous, and I'll see you in the frontier.